about if they're doing direct deposit. Because remember, she had said it was the first time in Guam history that they done direct deposit for tax refunds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 6:57 here on the link. Good morning, January 27th. It's a Wednesday. Let's head into the K-Wave News Zoom room where we have a standing by. He's the director, executive director, general manager. I don't know. I forgot what they call you over there.
Administrator.
Administrator. There you go. The Chamorro Land Trust, Jack Hattig. Good morning, Jack.
Hafa day. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. Good morning, everyone out there in Guam.
It's been a while. We haven't seen you since last year.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Man, it's just like yesterday, maybe.
So we wanted to do a little catch up with you, but I guess just right off the bat, I'd read about this proposal that was in front of the CLTC. This is relative to the Ypao Point. Something with, I have to laugh because when I was trying to explain it to Sabrina, she was like, huh? And I think that's kind of like the whole thing's like, huh? But it's something to do with solar powered minivans being used for homesteading and ranching for homeless on Ypao Point. And then there was also something about growing hemp. But I'm pretty sure you can explain it a little bit better, Jack. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So last week at the CLTC monthly meeting for January, we received a proposal from initially Pacific Human Resource Services and Manja Nirvana. These are nonprofit groups, and basically they wanted to establish a housing community. It's something that is a little bit different, obviously, like you mentioned. They're using vans that have been repurposed. They're not drivable, and they've been renovated, repurposed, and put out as one as like a domicile, basically a shelter, a home. And they're proposing to construct these domiciles in a botanical setting. That's what the proposal on a piece of property that potentially can be used to farm, so that the homeless, in exchange basically for staying in the domicile, they would ranch and farm. And the farming that was done would be self-sufficient, so it would be enough for them. Then eventually they would expand into farming so that they could sell and make a little money for themselves. And then it would expand also further. They had another phase of it that would incorporate prefabricated, kind of like a factory in a box. So it's prefabricated homes. So that was further down the road. So it was a new, I'll say, a very new and unique concept I had never heard of before. And the commission had decided to, I suggested to establish a committee to study this proposal further, exactly what it would entail, go over some of the details. And then when they initially requested for Ypao Point, of course, we kind of took a look at that, and we had expressed that was already declared commercial, and that we were kind of looking for it to be potentially a revenue generating opportunity for the trust, so that we could sustain ourselves, for a long period of time potentially. But we're in the listening phase, just trying to figure out the proposal itself. And then this committee will do a deep dive and then report back to the commission on, what are some of the good points, what are some of the not so good points, right? So that the commission can make a decision on the proposal.
So it's zoned commercial, that area.
Well, I'm not sure, Bree. I think I have to check on the zoning. As you're aware, the property was the home of the former Guam Memorial Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But we did declare the property to be commercial. And we, with an MOU with GITA, we are enlisting their help to try to market the property. We haven't submitted any, RFPs haven't been brought by GITA to us yet. So we're going to re-engage with them, obviously, because we need to do the scope of work, right? They need to find out from us exactly what we want to do. But in the meantime, we've received at least two since I've been on board in 2019, two proposals. The first one was for an assisted living facility at Ypao Point to assist the elderly and those that need assisted living. and then this one. So
So what happened to the assisted living community proposal?
well, we had heard as an agency, I heard the proposal, and this was back in 2019, and it didn't really go anywhere. I know that it wasn't brought before the commission at that time, so you know, I know that that was an area that was of great contention, and you know, it just, you know, we just heard the proposal, the agency did, and you know, that's where it landed.
Mm-hmm. So for this specific human resources, I guess housing / agricultural proposal, what sort of revenue would that generate?
Well, you know, that's one of the things that the committee is going to ask. I think that's one of the things that we need to find out, potentially, what is their projection, right, for this type of activity. I know that they also wanted it to use it as kind of like a labor camp for the homeless. That was something so that they would, instead of paying for they would go there and work for 4 to 5 hours, and that would pay for their lodging. So I don't know exactly, we haven't done the deep dive yet, but I'm hoping to have the first committee meeting perhaps next week so that we can get, you know, scratch the surface and ask those questions.
Jack, this is separate and apart from SKC over there at Ypao Point?
Yes, SKC, right, Second Kulturan Chamorro was, that area was set aside by public law for the construction of a Chamorro Cultural Center. And so in December, we had the Inadahe ni Linatnat Kulturan Chamorro nonprofit group, and they were requesting for a lease on that particular portion of Ypao Point.
What was this? You said it was Pacific Human Resources?
Yeah, Pacific Human Resource Services.
And what was you said there was another...
Manja Nirvana, and I think Manja Nirvana was, they had the proposal for the hemp, to grow hemp and then to I guess to process it right into just basically anything, maybe, you know, the manufacture of things without CBD.
Mm-hmm. Is that a separate proposal, or is this like these two companies are together? It was part of a phased proposal. So we had 3 different individuals presenting, right? And who were the 3?
You know, that's part of one of the phase concepts.
Who were the 3 people?
Well, one was Marcus Cepeda. He represented Manja Nirvana. And Jeff Vitkavitsky was Mr. Cepeda's partner and general manager for Pacific Human Resource Services. And then Kyle Burns, there was another partner of another company called Gigazon Internet Capital Limited.
Just those 3 individuals?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the assisted living community for the elderly? What company is that?
I can't recall right now, just off the top of my head. I'm pulling the research for everything that we had taken in from my staff, so that we can also include it, because, you know, it was ironically, it was the same area that they were requesting. Yeah. I'm not sure, but maybe Mr. Cepeda might have been involved in that one as well, but I would have to check.
Jack, with this commercial or this property having been previously zoned commercial, are we even looking at these proposals and thinking about how much revenue we can generate? Because they sound like proposals that are not going to make any money for the government of Guam. I mean, I'm all for housing the homeless, totally. You guys know what we say on the show, but at this time when we're looking at you know, $30 million shortfall, obviously the economic troubles of not having tourism and yada yada yada. How much of that is going to be part of you guys' thought process when you put eyes on these different proposals? Because that's a prime piece of property, and I feel like if we are going to, you know, lease it out commercially, then we should definitely make it worth our while.
I spoke out about that, you know, several times. Obviously, you know, in December I spoke out about it, you know, and my concern is, is the what can we do to make the agency stand up for the next 50 years? And one of the things we could do is initiate a commercial lease that would assist us maybe as far as office space, right? And as far as so that we don't have to pay any rent anymore. So that's something that that is part of the discussion, and it's uppermost in my mind when I bring that to the table. I mean, I support the sheltering of the homeless too. The CLTC is a partner with the Guam Homeless Coalition, and we had a strategic planning meeting yesterday, and I presented this announcement of these proposals to the homeless community. But I said that there's no guarantee that it's going to be Ypao Point. We do have some properties that we can go over that may be more suitable for this particular proposal. But again, we're in the listening phase, and that's part of the unsolicited process, is that the trust is transparent and it listens to all proposals and does the fact finding before it does make a decision.
Can you just kind of clarify is it one proposal, two proposals, or it's one proposal with phased in proposals?
It's one proposal, but
Okay.
it has several phases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jack, there's a comment here. What about the people that have been waiting for over 22 years for their land trust properties? This is something that I remember when I did the stories on the Barragata Heights property. It kind of highlighted that certain employees and their relatives were kind of jumping ahead in the line. And I know that under Chair Pica, you guys had gone in and, just untangled everything. So I guess two-part question: what's the update on the Barragata Heights properties, and then also what's the update on getting lots out to those on that first come first serve basis? If that's how we're still doing
to answer the first question, we currently are working on the list of switch and transfer leases, and those are the list that the Attorney General had identified that received a lease as a result of a switch or transfer that was deemed void. So we're working on that. We adjudicated, I think, about maybe 20, I want to say, out of the 102 initially. So we are doing that on on a case-by-case basis. We're examining all the options of what we can do, what remedies we can do, and then we're basically putting people back in line where they should have been, and then adjudicating it from there. So I'm happy to say that we're making great progress. Obviously, it's a slow process because we have to call the individuals in, we have to speak to them, and we have to research the case, and then we have to provide options, and then we schedule it before the board, and then the legal counsel obviously takes a look at it. And so it's a process, but we're making great strides. And then they approved, the commission did in December, approved the list of the first 20 residential and agricultural applicants in 1995. And so we're in the process of trying to contact those individuals. But as I reported before in January, actually, that we're running into some issues with the qualification process now because of the law that was that needed to be passed to resolve the settlement between the U.S. Department of Justice and the government of Guam, CLTC. We are running into some difficulties and challenges, but we're making, again, great strides. How do you qualify now that it's 2021 in the new qualification process? And how many of those people are grandfathered, right? How many of those people don't have to worry about qualifying in the new way? So we had a couple of test cases that we ran for individuals and questions that we asked, and we received a lot of good clarification from our legal counsel. So we're proceeding forward. A lot of people are obviously not happy because the law states that leases that were issued prior to January 1st, 2021 shall be held. But then any new leases that are issued after that period, people have to qualify in the new way, which now requires them to submit more documents. And a lot of people in 1995, that applied in 95 are understandably upset that initially they thought, well, we qualify and we never got our lease, and now we have to qualify in the new way. So, we're working through those things.
Can you just, what's the new way to qualify, just so everybody's on the same page?
Yes. So the new qualification states that you have to, you can qualify in two ways. One, you are a descendant of somebody who owned land that was taken away by the federal government, that was acquired by the federal government between 1898 and 1968. So in that case, you would bring us your land documents, anything that you had that proved that you owned it. If you don't have the land documents, then you have to sign an affidavit that attests that these specific information, right, about your land that was taken away. And then for those that, back in the day, we didn't have a lot of formal agreements, right? We had basically gentleman handshake agreement for you to come to my land and go ahead and live there and ranch there or farm there. And then, a portion of your crop, maybe you gave to me. So occupiers, the law calls them occupiers, farmers, or ranchers of the land who did not own it. So if you're a descendant of that type of person, then all you would need to do is submit an affidavit, again, outlining the specific area, the description of the area. And then that would appear before the board for qualification. And then once you were granted the qualification, you were eligible for the program, and your date and time is there. And then when your date and time is up, we work with you on a parcel.
How many people are affected by this?
Well, the law states that everybody that was in line, the applications in line, they won't be affected in terms of the line itself. So nobody's going to be pushed back or anything like that. But because they were not issued a lease, then they would have to qualify. So that application list is about 8,000. I think I reported yesterday 8,000 right now.
Well, Jack, so let's take yeah, it is. I remember when they first opened up the lots, and this man was like, I want to say it was 95, 90 something, but I remember there's so many of my friends went to go line up, but I had to work and I never could. So as a new applicant, and you talk about an affidavit, what about someone like me who only anecdotally has heard that, my grandma's family's land in Radio Barragata was sold to the military, or some of it was taken, heard something like a penny an acre. But obviously we don't have any of that paperwork, right? So is that where the affidavit comes in? And is it a stringent affidavit process, or are you just going to take my word for it?
That's a great question, Chris. Thanks for that. And I initially had asked that question during the settlement process. What would anybody have to do if they didn't have any paperwork? I mean, I think I'm in the same situation. I was asking my mom just the other day. I said, do we have any family members that that had land taken away? And she was like, oh, you have to check, Uncle John and Auntie Otfa, you have to check Jason Salas's family, his grandparents, right? Because I think they had some land. And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess what you should do too is take a look at the affidavit, because there are specific information, but there is an area in the law that says it's to the best of the ability, right? The best ability of the applicant to provide as much information as possible for the commission to decide whether they are eligible or not. And I don't know to what, what the standard is going to be for the commission, to decide that. I'm simply processing, the paperwork as they're submitting it. Yeah. And that's basically what we can do. I know that the staff, according to the law, the staff, the least or the research that we're allowed to do is to look into the GALC, the bond files, the John bond files, to see whether these folks may have qualified as ancestral lands, as potential ancestral lands heirs, because that's something that, is possible.
We had a comment here. I was told over a year ago that they were on December 3rd, 1995. We applied on December 5th. What day are you guys on right now, Jack?
Well, primarily we started at the top, and the first day was December 2nd. So we've started for the first 20 people. I believe there was a lot of people on December 2nd. That was the very first day, and we had multiple satellite areas where people could file their claim or their application. So sometimes we have people that filed on the same day, obviously, but at different areas, and their times are almost the same. So we have to put them in a priority. So basically, if your time is before somebody, then it's on the same day, then it kind of gets slotted in front of people. So we try to be, that was the process that I was briefed on when I came on board.
I wanted to also ask an update. Going back to pre-pandemic, dengue fever, I remember you guys were out on Swamp Road issuing citations for people who just were not taking care of the property. I went to some properties on Swamp Road, just disgusting dump sites. You know what I mean? And I just think about these people like who've been waiting 22 years and who maybe would treat the land a little bit better. And I know you took some flack for that. So what's the update on that? These property lessees were they cited? Was it carried out? Where are we on that?
Well, I know that we went out there with EPA because we don't have the authority to cite anybody. I mean, we can go out there and do a site inspection and document that you are in violation if we observe any violations. But we also partner up with EPA, obviously, because they have a citation authority.
Yeah, I see.
So we partnered up with them during dengue, and of course we went out and we partnered with the mayor and public works, and we got the area cleared out. Going back there again, it's very sad to say, but it looks like we just reverted back to where we were prior to that. We try, like I said, our best. My 7 land agents and I, we try to repeatedly go out and remind everybody, but it's just so difficult, with such a large amount of land area and such a small amount of staff. But we do document each and every occurrence that is reported to us, or if we're in the area conducting inspections, we do look for those things, and we're coming up with the compliance. Actually, we've come up already with a compliance plan. So it's all about putting that into effect now, implementing it legally. And of course, we have preoccupiers that are out there, people that were there prior to 1995. So by law, we cannot evict them. But by the same token, how do we get them to take care of the property? So one of the things that we had talked about was requiring mandatory trash pickup. We talked about that, making sure that these new leases or the current leases, if we can add that to the responsibility to kind of help with the junk that's out there. Another thing that we've tried to do is we're trying to negotiate with Global Recycling Incorporated, because they're operating on CLTC property and they're the largest processor of scrap metal on Guam. So in exchange for operating there and a rental fee, they would basically take in an amount of junk cars and scrap metal that come from primarily, depending on where you live, CLTC property. So that's something that we're trying to do. So those are proactive ways, approaches that we've tried. We're trying to implement currently right now.
Does the CLTC have any, companies that you guys have leased out land that are behind in making payments to the CLTC?
I don't have those figures. I don't have that information with me, Bree. I'm sorry. I'm still at home, and when I get there, I can certainly check and see. Right now, off the top of my head, I don't believe there are, but again, I don't have that information with me. But normally, if they are behind, we do send them. Of course, we do send them notices, right? But from what I understand, I don't think we have anybody at that point.
Whatever happened to, I think it's Atentano, that's the Chamorro Land Trust Commission lease in Santa Rita for the incinerator project?
That's I haven't heard that at all. I'd have to follow up too with that. I wasn't aware that we had any property that an incinerator was going to be proposed.
Waste to energy, the Guam Resource Recovery Partners. I know this has been kind of in litigation.
Yeah. I remember.
Whatever happened to that?
Wow.
Yeah, I remember. Someone was being taken to court. I think it was Wadgi or somebody. Because I'm
not entirely sure if the court proceedings are concluded yet. I would have to check. Yeah.
Okay. So they were taken to court.
I don't know if it was CLTC taking them to court, but I believe there was some sort of an agreement with because that is Chamorro Land Trust property, and they signed some sort of a lease, I believe, with CLTC.
Right.
And I was just wondering whatever happened to that.
And they couldn't get a hold of the guy for like a while. Yeah.
Well, I'll certainly look into it
Yeah.
first thing when I get into the office. Sure.
Okay, going back to the hemp homeless and whatever proposal this is that we were talking about at the very beginning. You mentioned this committee. Is it a committee within the Chamorro Land Trust Commission, the board? Okay.
Yes.
So how soon can we expect to see this report and research completed?
Well, that would really depend also on the cooperation from the group, the group of individuals, and we are going to be asking questions, obviously. So I'm in communication with the group, and when we schedule our first meeting, we're going to kind of set the schedule for what we want to do, and what we want to present. Obviously, I want to do this as quickly as we possibly can, but as thorough as we possibly can, to have something for the board, perhaps in February if we could. But again, it's really dependent upon the response of the individuals that gave the proposal.
Mm-hmm. Were the commercial rules and regulations for CLTC, were they ever approved?
Well, that's the commercial rules and regulations for the CLTC is Public Law 33-95 currently.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the January meeting, what the commission did is it approved the standard operating procedure for those commercial rules. So basically, it sets aside the process for how individuals or companies can come forward requesting a commercial lease.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking about working with GITA for to issue an RFP for the Ypao Point property.
Right. And initially, we had not, the commission had not requested for the RFP. There was supposed to be a broader discussion on the economic impact, obviously, that it would have to the trust. And then, of course, we got hit with COVID, and everything just kind of slowed down a lot, grinded, basically down to a halt. And so now we're going to pick that up with, we have new board members now and a new chairman. So we're obviously going to pick that subject up soon.
You have an idea or a time frame when you'd like to see this RFP go out?
As soon as we get information from our partners at GITA on what we could possibly do, and then develop our own. The commission should really develop its own idea about what it wants, because that's what GITA is going to request from us. They're going to ask us, well, what do you want to see there? What do you intend possibly to be there? And then, of course, the commission's going to give that information. As I said before, just advising the commission is that it's a commercial property that could possibly, be something that could set us up for a very long time. And I would like to see that, during my time here at the trust, to know that the next 50 years, possibly, they don't have to worry about rent or all that other good stuff. Obviously, I want to see.
Mm-hmm. I was reading like a old story about how the property was donated by the Paris family to the Chamorro Land Trust Commission with the hopes that some sort of medical facility, possibly even a hospital, would be built in that area. Is that something that has to be done, or it's just something that the Paris family had hoped would be put there? Or is that something that CLTC is looking at, maybe because the governor, she's already indicated she wants a new hospital?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something?
Well, I'm not entirely sure whether it's something that we have to do necessarily when it was conveyed to the government of Guam and then placed within the trust inventory. So that's something that we would have to consider. You're right. We would have to consider whether that would be something that is binding legally for us.
Mm-hmm. How many acres is the Ypao Point? Ypao Point. Confused.
Wow. I want to say, like I said, I could pull it up if I was at the office. I'm really sorry, but gosh, we cut that property up a little bit, legislatively, for the Saigon, Couture, and Chamorro, and then they set aside some of it, and they broke ground for the Naftan Minanyata, the shrine. So I'm not entirely sure, because of the cut-ups, what the remainder, right, of the property is, because I know that It extends primarily from Saigon Katuran Chamorro to the Healing Hearts organization that is along next to the hospital, next to the current GMH. So I can definitely get that, but I know the property was reduced in size by legislation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but if you had it your way, you would hope that it would be some sort of a revenue generating proposal, right, or project.
It's something that I would suggest, yes, that if we could do it, if we can do it, because as was reported, the trust, it's possible that we could be insolvent by 2024 if we're not looking at new ways to fund our operations, because the leases that were initiated prior to 2015 go into a certain fund, and then and I'm talking about commercial leases, and then commercial leases that were initiated after 2015 go into a certain fund, and those commercial leases are coming to the end of term pretty soon. So we have to worry about applying the Public Law 33-95 to those leases that are up.
Okay. And just one more thing, just to clarify, you said 8,000 people.
Approximately, I want to say we have about 3,000 leases and then about 8,000 applicants. So that's a total of about 11,000 constituents.
But the 8,000 are the ones that are kind of caught in this old versus new criteria.
Right.
Because they did not receive a lease.
Right.
Okay. Where do they go? Do you guys have a website that they can go to
yes,
read up on the new?
Our website is located at dlm.guam.gov, and you can click on the link that is the CLTC link, and that will take you directly to our website. And then, of course, you can come in to the Chamorro Land Trust office. It's in the second floor of the ITC building in Tumuni. We are open from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You can come in with just walk in, or you can make an appointment. Either way, we're ready to service to help you. And then you can call 649-5263 extension 815. And that is our office's extension. And you can also email us at cltc.admin@cltc.guam.gov.
But just a heads up, guys, there might be a little bit of a wait on that application. Not 22 years, though, right, Jack?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're trying to get to you. I think that's the point that we're trying to make to everybody, is that now we're making the attempt to reach out and get with you and find out all of this information and work with you. We want to work with you on getting your information in. It's not just, oh yeah, you got to submit a document. Go ahead, go with your document. We're willing to, work with you. We're willing to reach out to GALC, because they are kind of like our sister agency, to connect you with people that can provide you with the information. So yeah.
All right, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you very much, Chris, Bree. You guys stay safe, right? And I know that we're in P-Court too, but you never know what could happen with surges and everything. I'm so glad our car score's down. I'm so glad that our office is open. So you just stay safe out there.
You too, Jack. There you go.
Adios.
That's that. Jack Hattig, the administrator.